Hello. How is everyone? Let's start tapping, sharing. Hey, Murph. Hello. Hey, Tara. I probably already said hi to most, but I'm just kind of going through again. Hey, Pink. How are you doing? Hello, love. You like the music? Oh, good. Hey, Jess. Hello, Jim Rocks. Howdy, howdy. Hello, Ginger Moore. How are you? Okay, I gotta work on this lighting. This isn't giving me Cherry Hill vibes tonight. So let's work on that, shall we? Let's see. I am good. How are you? I'm trying to remember what colors that we did last week. I like hey, Leslie Marie, when you see something, kind of let me know. No. Happy birthday, Shirley! Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Shirley. Happy birthday to you. We need to go darker for tonight. Green. That might be it. How is that? Oh, indeed. Indeed, Melanie. Love it? Okay, we might just leave it alone and stay there. Oh, that's so beautiful. Is that not the prettiest music? Perfect. We'll stick with that then. Oh, it looks good over there in White Channel too. It is, Melanie. One of my favorites. Yeah. My hands are green. Very, very soothing. And with that being said, are we ready? Now, this should be only a grin chat. Let me just confirm that again. Just 1 second. Okay, it should be super fan only. Hey, Renee. Then let's begin. My name is Bryn Morgan. I'm a horror author, and I'm also a teller of scary stories. Tonight is Appalachian Horror. This is the continuation of Cherry Hill. Are you ready? Let's start sharing. Hey, hope you love little butterfly. Let's start sharing, sharing, sharing. But first, we have a way of how we do things here, don't we? Something is not right about this lighting. What in the world is going on? It is just too... I can't quite put my finger on it. Better. Yeah, it's kind of washed out, but I'm not sure why. It's like it's so green or something, which I'm okay with. Is that better? I should leave good enough alone, but I never do. Oh, way better. Okay. Okay, just wanted to make sure. Because I am going for a green witchy vibe. Is it better now? Hello, Brittany Nicole. I just don't want it to be disturbing. Better? It looks cool. All right, we'll go with that then. First, We have a way of how we enter into story time here. Isn't that right, Pink? Lower your lights. Lock your doors. Light a candle to chase the shadows away. There are going to be a lot of shadows tonight. Pull your curtains nice and tight. Wrap yourself in your warmest blanket to avoid the chills that are about to crawl up your spine. And let's begin. Hold up. Little Boo is fine. There we go. That's what I wanted. The drive back from Chloe's house was suffocating in its silence. Right. I was like, something's not right. I don't want to look like Wicked. Composed. Maggie gripped the steering wheel, her knuckles white. Maggie gripped the steering wheel, her knuckles white, her eyes fixed on the winding road ahead. But she wasn't really seeing it. She was feeling everything all at once in a way that was overwhelming and terrifying. The power Billy had awakened, thrummed through her veins like a second heartbeat. Light and dark, woven together, pulsing with every breath. But it was more than that. It was emotions, raw, unfiltered, intense emotions that she'd never felt before. Anger, fear, hunger, possessiveness, desire. They all swirled together inside her chest, twisting and intertwining until she couldn't tell where one ended and the other began. It was like something had been protecting her. Some kind of guard or shield had burned away when the medallion seared her flesh. And now she was raw and exposed and feeling everything too much, too intensely. You okay? Inez asked quietly from the passenger seat. No, Maggie said. Her voice was tight. I don't think I am. Inez reached over and squeezed her hand. What are you feeling right now? Everything! Maggie's voice cracked slightly. I'm feeling everything, Nez. She could barely dry from the tears that were clouding her eyes. And I don't know how to make it stop! Billy said that the awakening would change you. This is more than that, though, Nez. Maggie's hands tightened on the wheel. She drove dangerously close to the line. It's like something was holding all of this back before. Keeping me balanced, keeping me normal. And now, it's gone. And I'm just... She swallowed hard. I'm drowning in it. They drove in silence for a few more minutes, the mountains looming dark on either side of the road. You need to pull yourself together. Okay, Mags? I'm your best friend, but I'm being honest with you. You're supposed to go and get Curly tomorrow morning, and you've got to be on your A game, babe. Okay? You've got to be on your A game. Yeah. First thing, I'll drive to Charlotte, pick her up for the weekend, and bring her back here. Maggie's voice was steadier now, focused. I can't blow this. I can't blow this. I can't miss it. I cannot give James any ammunition to take her away from me permanently. And Billy thinks it's a bad idea. And I honestly, Nez, he thinks bringing her here to Cherry Hill with everything that's happening is dangerous. But the court says that I have to establish our relationship. I have to show that I'm capable of caring for her. And I can't do that if I never see her. Inez nodded slowly. I'll stay here, okay? And I'm gonna continue researching Nafrith Nocher. And I'm gonna look into more see maybe if Billy hasn't told us everything, maybe there could be something deeper. And when you get back with Curly, I'll be here to help. I took off some time. I've got so many freaking sick days at the office and personal days, and if Jack wants to get mad about it, he can eat shit. Because I'm going to be here, and I'm going to be here for my friend. So I'm going to be here to watch you, and I'm going to be here to watch Curly. I'm going to be here to watch you both. Maggie grabbed Inez's hand and squeezed it tightly. Thank you. They were pulling into the driveway of Cherry Hill House when Maggie's phone started ringing. She glanced at the screen. Graham Sinclair calling. Her heart lurched. Inez saw it too. Do you really think? She hesitated. Do you think he's involved in this somehow? Connected to the Nafrith Nocher? Maggie's hands gripped the steering wheel so hard she thought it might crack. I don't know, Nez. Her voice was raw with emotion. I really don't know what the hell is going on anymore. I was just told that I'm a daughter of a dark witch and a white warlock. On top of that I'm marked by an ancient evil that wants to mate with me, that there are children being sacrificed in the mountains, and that I have 2 weeks to learn how to kill a god. She hit the steering wheel with her palm. So no, I really don't know if Graham Sinclair is involved or not. The call ended, went to voicemail, and immediately the phone rang again. Graham St. Clair calling. He's persistent, Max, Inez said quietly. Maggie declined the call and typed out a quick text instead. I'm sorry. I've been busy with a lot. The response came back almost immediately. Graham, what the hell is going on, Maggie? I miss you. I need to see you. Inez watched her friend's face, saw the conflict roaring there. Are you going to talk to him? I don't know what to say to him. Billy Greyfeather scared me, okay, Inez? He scared me. He said that I've been in contact with possibly this thing. Maybe you start with the truth. Or at least some version of it. Maybe you come straight out and just ask him. Inez's voice was gentle. I think you owe him that much. And honestly, Maggie, if he is involved somehow in all of this, wouldn't it be better to know now? Before you're in too deep? Another text came through. Graham, when can I come over? Please, Maggie, I need to see you. I need to know that you're okay. Maggie stared at the phone, her heart pounding. She could feel the darkness inside her whispering, telling her to run back to Charlotte, to hide, to protect herself. But she could also feel the light, telling her to be honest, to trust, to reach out. She took a breath and typed, that's a no-go. I still have my best friend here. Graham, come over and have dinner with me. Please. I want to see you. Maggie paused and looked at Inez. What? He's asking me to come to dinner. I think you should go. Maggie responded back. What time? Graham. 7 o'clock. She set the phone down on the dashboard and looked at Inez. I'm going, but I think it's a mistake. You're just going to talk to him. That's it. And, maybe try to find out if there's anything that he knows about what's happening here. If y'all are going to have anything, there's got to be a level of trust, right? Yeah, I guess. I'll mention the name. Then a presidential chair, and I'll watch his reaction. Inez studied her friend carefully. Now, here's the other one on your shoulder. What if he does know? What if he is part of this? Maggie's eyes flashed, literally flashed with light and shadow. Then I'll deal with it. At 6:30, Maggie stood in her bedroom, stared at her reflection in the mirror. She'd showered, letting the hot water wash away the lingering smoke and earth from Billy's training. She dressed carefully, dark jeans that hugged her curves, a deep burgundy sweater that brought out the red in her hair, brown boots. She left her hair down. She knew that Graham liked that. But wait, maybe she should just put it up at a top knot, and maybe she should dress something that's more loose. But she didn't, and the waves were pulling past her shoulders and down her back. But it was her face that held attention. As she looked in the mirror at herself, she looked different. Her eyes were brighter and more intense, like they held secrets the rest of the world couldn't understand. Her skin had that faint luminescence Billy had mentioned, barely visible but there, if you knew to look at it. And there was something in her expression, something harder, darker, more dangerous than had been there before. This awakening with Billy had changed her. She could feel it in every cell of her body. She was shaking as she grabbed her keys and her jacket. She turned and looked on the bathroom counter and saw the medallion. That's when everything had changed. That's when she began to feel empty, bereft, lonely, unprotected. The bandages under her sweater pressed against the burns, a constant reminder of what had marked her, what wanted her. Inez met her at the door, pulling her into a light hug. "Be careful," Inez whispered, "and call me if anything throws off, anything at all." "I will." Maggie pulled back, trying to smile. "I'll be back in a few hours." "And tomorrow you get Curly. You're going to have your daughter back for the weekend. Maybe while you're gone, I'll drive down to town and pick her up some coloring books, crayons. Can you think of anything else she might want?" "Yeah. Can you get her a bag of sour gummy worms? She loves those." "Yeah, you got it." Maggie smiled again and then climbed into her Bronco. Her hands were trembling on the steering wheel. She could do this. She could face Graham. She could find out the truth. She had to. The drive across town felt both too long and too short. Graham's cabin was on the opposite side of Cherry Hill, tucked into the woods with a view of the mountains and the Black Pass. It was beautiful and isolated. She remembered the wall of windows, the kind of place where no one could hear you scream. What if she went in? What if Graham revealed himself? No one would hear her. Maggie pushed that thought away. She pulled into his driveway and killed the engine. For a moment, she just sat there, staring at his front door, gathering her courage. She had just slept with this man just a few days ago, and here she was, acting like a nervous schoolgirl. But everything had changed. When she opened her door, the front porch light came on. The door opened and Graham stepped out onto the porch. God help her. She could smell him from where she sat in her car. He wore dark jeans and a slate blue sweater that made his gray eyes look like storm clouds. Those bedroom eyes. His salt pepper hair was slightly disheveled, and even from the car, Maggie could see the tension in his shoulders, the concern etched across his handsome face. He looked incredible. He looked like everything she wanted and everything that terrified her. Something screamed at her, "Maggie, get back in the car and just drive away." But she couldn't. Maggie climbed out of the Bronco, and Graham was down the porch steps in seconds, crossing the distance between them with long strides. "Maggie," he breathed, and then his hands were in her hair. His mouth was on hers, and she was drowning in the heat and the taste and the reality of him. He kissed her like he'd been starving for it, like she was oxygen and he'd been suffocating. His tongue swept into her mouth, claiming her, tasting her, and Maggie melted into him, her hands fisting in his sweater. God, she missed this. Missed him. Graham, she gasped against his mouth. Wait! Graham! No waiting, lass. He murmured, his accent thick with emotion. I've been going mad, lass, 3 days without hearing from you. 3 days wondering if you decided I wasn't worth the trouble. He kissed her again deeper, and Maggie's knees went completely weak. Dinner, Graham said, pulling her toward the door, his hands never leaving her body, is going to have to wait. But it can wait, he growled, and the raw need in his voice sent heat flooding through her. He pulled her inside, barely pausing to kick the door shut behind them before his mouth was on her neck. His hands sliding under her sweater, his body pressing her back against the wall. Graham, Maggie gasped, I need to talk to you. There's so much. Later, lass. His hands cupped her face, his eyes boring into hers. Talk later. Right now, I just need... His voice broke. I need to know you're real. That you're here. That you're mine. The possessiveness in that word should have scared her. Instead, it made her burn. Maggie looked deep into Graham's eyes. Yours. Graham's control completely shattered. He swept her up into his arms and carried her through the cabin, past the kitchen where she caught a glimpse of a table set with candles and wine and food that smelled incredible, past the living room with its stone fireplace and comfortable furniture, down a short hallway to his bedroom. Connor was right behind them. He kicked him back. The room was masculine and beautiful just as she remembered it. Exposed wooden beams, a large bed with a dark gray sheets, a window overlooking the forest, candles burned on the nightstand, casting everything in warm, flickering light. Graham sat her down gently, and his hands immediately went to the hem of her sweater. May I? His voice was rough, his eyes dark with desire. Maggie nodded, and he pulled the sweater over her head. His eyes immediately went to the bandages covering her chest and her neck, and his expression shifted. What the hell, Maggie? Concern warring with something darker. His fingers traced the edge of the bandages gently, and his jaw clenched. What happened? His voice was quiet, but intense. These weren't here before. A lot has happened in 3 days, Maggie said quietly. Graham's eyes searched hers, and she could see him fighting the urge to demand answers right now. But need, one. Desire, one. He kissed her again, his hands moving to unclasp her bra, and Maggie let herself sink into that sensation. Let herself forget just for a moment about ancient evils and dark magic and terrible destinies. Right now, there was just this. Just him. Just the heat and hunger and desperate need between them. Graham worshipped Maggie's body with his hands and his mouth, taking its time. Despite the urgency she could feel thrumming through him, he was gentle around the bandages, careful not to hurt her, but everywhere else, he was demanding, possessive, claiming every inch of her skin. When he finally pushed inside her, when they moved together in that ancient rhythm, Maggie felt something shift inside her chest. The darkness and light that had been churning separately began spiraling together, drawn by the pleasure, by the connection, by the raw intimacy of the moment. She came apart in his arms, crying out his name, and Graham followed her over the edge with a groan that sounded like prayer and curse combined. They collapsed together, breathing hard, sweat slicked and trembling. For long minutes, neither of them spoke. Maggie lay draped across Graham's chest, listening to his heartbeat slow, feeling the rise and fall of his breathing, trying to memorize the solid reality of it. This was the moment to test him. Na frith, Chultir, Maggie said softly, her cheek still pressed against his chest. She felt it immediately. Graham's entire body tensed beneath her, not just a little, every muscle locked, rigid as stone. His breathing hitched, stopped for a heartbeat, and then resumed. Maggie lifted her head to look at his face. His expression was carefully neutral, but his eyes were alert, wary, like a predator that had just sensed danger. What? Nefrith Chulter. What is that? He asked, his voice controlled. Too controlled? Maggie sat up. I was wondering if you knew. She watched him carefully, quietly. Graham sat up slightly, shifting so he could look her in the eyes. The movement was slow and deliberate, and Maggie felt a flutter of unease in her stomach. Maggie, are you really going to do this again? Right now? After what we just did? Maggie, I do not know anything about what you're saying. Who is that? The name means nothing to you. I have no idea. Just like I knew nothing about Kenna. Maggie, I'm trying to work something out here with you, lass. I really, really like you. And I'm doing everything in my power to prove that. He got out of bed, strode over to the window, naked, and then looked back at her. Does this have to do with the training with the Native American man? Is that what it is, lass? How did you know that? Word gets around, Maggie. I told you that. Does that have anything to do with the bandages on your chest? Maggie studied his face, looking for any sign of deception, but all she saw was confusion and concern. Maybe Inez was wrong. Maybe Chloe was wrong. Maybe Billy was wrong. Maybe Graham had nothing to do with it. They didn't actually speak his name. She just automatically thought when Billy said you may have already had connections with him that it was just automatically Graham. But what if it wasn't? What if she was destroying something very special? Maybe he didn't know anything. Maggie ran her hands through her hair. I should get back. I need to prepare for tomorrow. I'm picking Curly up in Charlotte and... Wait! Graham's hand caught her wrist gently. We haven't even had dinner! Maggie, you can take time out and have dinner with me. You can spend the night with me. I'll get you back first thing in the morning. No, I can't do that, Graham. At least stay and eat. Okay. Okay. She nodded. She needed to talk to him anyway about a few more things. Needed to tell him at least some version of the truth of what was going on. They dressed in silence, though Graham kept stealing glances at her, clearly worried about what was going through her mind. In the kitchen, he'd prepared an incredible meal. Beef stroganoff with egg noodles, fresh bread and butter, a salad, different kinds of dressing laid out on the table, and a bottle of red wine. The table was set beautifully, candles flickering, music playing softly in the background, the flickering firelight from the gas fireplace. It should have been romantic. Instead, Maggie felt like she was sitting across from a stranger. They ate in tense silence for a few minutes before Graham set down his fork. Maggie, are you going to tell me what's going on? Why were you at Chloe's? And why did you meet Billy Greyfeather? You've heard of him? Everyone has heard of him. His accent was thicker now, his emotions bleeding through. Tell me what in the hell has happened to you in the past 3 days, lass, that you look at me like you're afraid of me. Maybe I am. Maybe I'm not. I don't know, Maggie said quietly. Then what? She took a sip of wine, gathering her courage. I just got so much going through my mind right now, Graham. I'm picking Curly up tomorrow morning, bringing her here for the weekend. That's wonderful news, lass. Graham smiled, but it didn't quite reach his eyes. I'd love to meet her one day. Maybe next time. Maggie set down her wine glass. Graham, did you know that the children were being sacrificed in the Black Pass? Graham had just taken a sip of his own wine and he almost choked, mid-swallow, before carefully setting the glass down. God, no, Maggie, he said. How do you know that? So Maggie told him about the nightmare, about the circle of witches in black robes chanting around a bonfire that reached to the heavens, about the children in the cage, Mason Stafford's terrified face, the tall figure that moved like liquid shadow, about speaking the name and the medallion burning her. That's what's missing. Where is it? It started burning me, and I took it off. When? After his training? We haven't really trained yet. He was just talking to me and telling me about Inette, about my mother, Aileen McLeod, and Marcus, and who in the hell is Marcus? My father. Maggie. So I understand you taking the medallion off. I get that. What happened to your chest? It was burning me. I woke up yesterday morning and there were burns all over my chest. The medallion had seared to my skin, Graham. And now there's some kind of... I took it off. She told him about that she wasn't who she thought she was, and Graham's eyes got wider. that she was the daughter of a dark witch and a white warlock, that she carried power that shouldn't exist, that she could see both worlds now, feel both worlds now. Billy says I'm a dark witch, Graham. Maggie said, her voice barely above a whisper. That I carry my mother's shadow magic, that it could consume me if I'm not careful, that I could become something very, very terrible. And since I've taken off this medallion, I don't feel protected anymore. Graham reached across the table and took her hand, his grip warm and firm. Maggie Drake, you are not evil, he said fiercely. You're not dark, Maggie. You've just been through a lot of shit. A hell of a lot of shit. But that doesn't make you dark. It makes you human. His eyes held her intense and sincere. Whatever that man told you, whatever Billy told you, whatever power you think you have, it doesn't change who you are. You're still you. You're still the woman who came to Cherry Hill looking for answers, who I fell in love with from day one. And it was out. Oh, Graham, don't. I'm telling you now, Maggie Drake, I'm in love with you. And when all of this is over, I'm gonna make a home for you and me and Curly. You are still the woman who cares so deeply about her daughter. Maggie. He squeezed her hand. You're not evil, Maggie Drake. You're one of the strongest, bravest people that I've ever met. Maggie felt tears burning in her eyes. Billy says that I need to be trained, that I need to learn to control the power before it controls me, before... She swallowed hard. I know you don't want to hear it, but something is changing in me, Graham. Before... She swallowed hard. Before whatever marked me comes to claim what it thinks is his. Graham's expression darkened. Nothing is going to claim you, lass. I won't let it. You can't stop this, Graham. You don't understand what we're dealing with here. Then explain it to me. His voice was urgent. Tell me everything. Let me help you. Stay with me tonight. But Maggie shook her head. I need to focus on Curly right now, and you may not like that, but that's just how it is. She's top priority for me. On bringing her here safely, on making sure that she's okay. She pulled her hand back gently. And then I need to train. I need to train with Billy, and I have 2 weeks to prepare before... She stopped, not wanting to say it out loud. Before what? Before Samhain. Before the Nephthysal tear comes for me. Graham studied her face for a long moment and then nodded slowly. Okay, you go get your daughter. You focus on her. But Maggie, his eyes were intense. Don't shut me out again. Don't ignore me. Please. They finished dinner in silence, the weight of unspoken things hanging between them. When Maggie stood to leave, Graham walked her to the door. He pulled her into his arms once more, holding her tight, and Maggie let herself sink into his warmth, his strength, his solid reality. Be careful tomorrow, he murmured against her hair. And call me when you get back. Let me know that you and Curly made it home safely. I will, Maggie promised. She pulled away and walked to her Bronco, feeling his eyes on her the entire way. As she drove away, she looked in the rearview mirror and saw him standing on the porch, leaning against the railing, watching her disappear into the darkness. And she couldn't shake the feeling that something between them had fundamentally changed. That by speaking that name, by testing him, she'd set something in motion that couldn't be undone. Nafrith Cholter, the veil weaver, the thing that had marked her, the thing that wanted to claim her. And somewhere in the darkness of the Black Pass, in the space between worlds, it felt her doubt, felt her fear, felt her pulling away from the man she was starting to care for. And he smiled. Because doubt and fear were the first cracks in her armor. And once she was isolated, once she was alone, it would be so much easier to take her, to claim her, to make her his. The drive back to Cherry Hill House felt endless. Maggie's body was still humming. Every place that Graham had touched her, kissed her, claimed her, felt like it was glowing with residual heat. Her skin tingled. Her nerve endings sang. Even hours later, she could still feel the ghost of his hands on her hips. She pressed her thighs together to stop the vibration. His mouth on her neck, his body moving inside hers. He'd marked her in ways that had nothing to do with magic, and that terrified her. Because he'd acted like he didn't know anything. When she'd said the name Nafrith Cholter, he tensed, yes, but then he looked her in the eyes and said he had no idea what that meant. He'd held her hand across the dinner table and told her that she wasn't evil, that she wasn't dark, wasn't the monster that she feared she was becoming. He'd offered to help, said he'd wanted to meet Curly, promised to be there for her. So why was there something inside her, something primal and instinctive and screaming, telling her to run, to avoid him at all cost, to never let him near her or her daughter again? Something inside of her didn't trust him. And Maggie was caught in the middle, being torn apart between light and dark. She pulled into the driveway of Cherry Hill House just after 10 o'clock. The lights were on inside, warm and welcoming. Inez was waiting. She showed her the things that she had purchased in town: coloring books, crayons, a pair of pajamas. With Miss Kitty. That was one of Curly's favorite things. Hello, Kitty. Maggie grabbed her bag and walked to the front door on shaking legs. Her whole body felt like it was vibrating at a frequency slightly out of sync with the rest of the world. The door opened before she could reach for the handle, and Inez stood there, backlit by the golden light from inside, holding the bag. And the moment she saw Maggie's face, her expression shifted from concern to understanding, something like grief. Oh, honey, Inez whispered. Maggie's bag dropped from her hand, hitting the porch with a dull thud. And then Inez's arms were around her, pulling her close, holding her tight, and Maggie just broke. She buried her face in her best friend's shoulder and let the tears come silent, shaking sobs that racked her entire body. Everything she'd been holding back, all the fear and confusion and overwhelming power that was changing her from the inside out, it all came flooding back. Oh, honey. Oh, y'all were intimate again, weren't you? Maggie nodded against Inez's shoulder, unable to speak. I can't deny him, she finally choked out. I couldn't leave, Nez. I tried. I went there to just talk to him, to test him, but the moment that he touched me, her voice broke. I couldn't stop. Inez held her tighter, one hand stroking her hair. It's okay, Mags, it's okay. It's not okay. Maggie pulled back, her eyes red and swollen, her face streaked with tears. Nothing about this is okay. He told me he was falling in love with me. I don't know if I can trust him. I don't know if he's involved in this or if he's innocent. I don't know if what we have is real or if I'm being manipulated. I don't know anything anymore, Nez. Inez cupped her face gently. Okay, listen to me right now. We're not going to figure out the Graham thing right now, okay? That's a whole different situation. Right now, I'm going to run upstairs and I'm going to draw you a hot bath and you're going to go upstairs and you're going to soak in the tub for as long as you want. You smell just like him. And that's not a bad thing. Maggie chuckled despite herself. You're going to let your body relax, and then tomorrow morning, you're going to go and you're going to get your girl, and you're going to bring her back here, and we're going to have a lot of fun, and it's going to be okay. And then you're going to start your training on Monday morning with Mr. Billy Bob, or whatever his name is, and everything is going to be okay. Okay? Maggie smiled. There was such fierce love in Inez's expression that Maggie felt her chest tighten. So go. Shoo. We're going to have a ball, Maggie Drake, she called out as she climbed the stairs. I put in for a very long stay here. I've got plenty of sick hours to cover it. So don't even worry about that. Okay? And personal time. So I'm right here with you and nothing bad is going to happen to you or Curly. I promise it on my life. Maggie raised her head, looking at her best friend through tear-bleared eyes. She looked down the stairs. You can't promise that, Nez. You don't understand what's going on inside of me right now. You have no idea. And it was true. Inez couldn't feel the darkness crawling in Maggie's chest like a living thing, hungry and restless. Couldn't feel the light burning in opposition, trying to push it back. Couldn't feel the constant war raging inside her body, tearing her apart cell by cell. Couldn't feel the pull toward the black past, toward the thing that had marked her and was calling to her even now. Come to me, Kenna. You're right, Inez said quietly and pushed past her and went in the bathroom. I don't understand, but I'm here anyway, and I'm not leaving. All Maggie could do was nod. She listened to Inez run the tub. And when Maggie sank into the hot water with the lavender oil and the Epsom salts, candles lit around the tub, soft music playing, she helped Inez shut the curtains. And then once Inez was gone, Maggie undressed, carefully unwrapping the bandages on her chest and neck so they could soak. The burns looked worse now, angrier. The circular mark above her heart was blackened at the edges, and the skin around it had taken on a strange, almost gray quality, like something was spreading from the wound, infecting her from the inside. 1 second. The circular mark above her heart was blackened at the edges, and the skin around it had taken on a strange, almost gray quality, like something was spreading from the wound, infecting her from the inside out. Inez walked back in with fresh towels, and her face went pale when she saw it. But she didn't say anything, just helped Maggie into the tub and pressed a kiss to the top of her head. Soak as long as you need. I'll be downstairs if you need me. Here's some fresh towels. Maggie sank back into the hot water, letting it envelop her, and tried to quiet the voices in her head. Tomorrow she'd get Curly. Tomorrow she'd bring her daughter home. And then she'd figure out what the hell to do about Graham Sinclair and the ancient evil that wanted to claim her soul. Come here, you busy thing. Let's stop there and take a 10. Actually, let me read for 10 more minutes because we were a little bit late. Morning came too quickly. Maggie was on the road by 7, driving through the gray dawn toward Charlotte. The bandages were fresh, hidden beneath a loose t-shirt and jacket. She'd braided her red hair to keep it out of her face. She looked normal, or at least she hoped she did. She couldn't let Curly see how much she'd changed. The drive took over 2 hours, and with every mile, Maggie felt the pull of Cherry Hill lessening. The constant thunder faded. The pressure on her chest eased slightly. Even the burns didn't throb as intensely. Distance from the Black Pass seemed to help. But it didn't make the darkness inside her disappear. That traveled with her, coiled around her heart like a serpent. She'd arranged to meet James and his girlfriend in a McDonald's parking lot near their neighborhood. Neutral territory, public, safe. Maggie pulled into the lot at exactly 10 o'clock and killed the engine. Jason's BMW was already there, parked near the entrance, and standing beside it, bouncing on her toes with barely contained excitement, was Curly. Maggie's heart clenched. Her daughter, her baby girl, 5 years old with red curls like Maggie's, though lighter, more strawberry blonde, and bright green eyes that sparkled with mischief and joy. She wore a purple dress with leggings and light-up sneakers, and she had a small backpack shaped like a unicorn slung over one shoulder. The moment Maggie opened her car door, Curly shrieked, "Mommy!" She took off running, her little legs pumping, her curls bouncing, her face split with the biggest smile that Maggie had ever seen. "Mommy! Mommy! Mommy!" Maggie barely made it out of the car before Curly slammed it into her legs, wrapping her arms around Maggie's waist and squeezing all her 5-year-old strength. "I missed you so much, Mommy." Curly looked up at her, those green eyes shining. "Daddy said you live in the mountains now, in a big house. And do you have any pets?" "I do, baby." Maggie knelt down, pulling her daughter into a proper hug, breathing in the familiar scent of her strawberry shampoo and the grape chapstick she was obsessed with. "I missed you too, so, so much." "Is it a dog? Is it a cat?" "It's a cat." "What color is it?" "The cat's orange." "I like orange cats. They're supposed to be the best." "He is orange, and his name is Dune." "Dune? That's a funny name." Curly giggled. "Can I pet him? Will he let me pet him, Mommy?" "He will absolutely let you pet him." Maggie kissed the top of her daughter's head, fighting back tears. "He's been waiting to meet you." James approached then, pulling Curly's small suitcase behind him and her car seat. His girlfriend, Amanda, a blonde woman in her late 20s with too much makeup and not enough personality, followed a few steps behind, her expression bored. James looked the same, still handsome in that clean-cut, preppy way that had attracted Maggie when they were in college. Dark hair, brown eyes, expensive clothes, but now looking at him with a new sight, Maggie could see beneath the surface. His aura, the energy that surrounded him, was muddy, brown and gray, shot through with streaks of sickly yellow. It pulsed with negativity, with selfishness, with the kind of spiritual rot that came from years of putting yourself above everyone else. He looked at Maggie with undisguised contempt. "Well, you look like hell," he said flatly. "What have you been doing up in there in the mountains? Taking drugs?" Maggie stood slowly, keeping one hand on Curly's shoulder. "Nice to see you too, James." "I'm serious, Maggie. You look different. Sick, maybe? Are you incapable of taking care of Curly right now?" Amanda snorted behind him, and James smirked. "I'm perfectly capable of taking care of my daughter, James." Her voice was tight. "Right. And you know that you are to have her back at a certain time. Not 1 minute late. If she comes back 1 minute late, I'll report you." Curly looked up at her father, confusion crossing her pretty features. "Daddy, why are you being so mean to Mommy?" "I'm not being mean, sweetheart. I'm just making sure Mommy is okay to take care of you this weekend." James' voice softened when he spoke to Curly, but the moment he looked back at Maggie, the contempt returned. "Because honestly, I'm starting to think you're not okay, Maggie. James. It's all right. I've gotten over how you were. You just remember, you pushed me into where I am now. Pushed you. I pushed you into cheating on me. I pushed you into leaving me. I pushed you into taking my daughter away. I pushed you? James, I was attacked, almost unalived, and I pushed you. He had nothing to say about that. You couldn't handle being a wife, being a mother, being anything except whatever fantasy version of yourself that you've been chasing with your little stories. Our little stories kept us above water. You just remember that when you were finishing up grad school. The burns on Maggie's chest began to burn hot. Not just a light burn, an actual sensation of being on fire. I left because you were sleeping with your secretary. James? Anger was boiling up inside of Maggie. And Maggie said quietly, aware that Curly was listening, and let's face it, our marriage was over way before your slut of a girlfriend. What did you just call me? I called you a slut. James, I think we better go. Oh, please. James rolled his eyes. You were already gone long before that. You were already in your own head, living in your own stories, pretending that the world didn't exist. At least Amanda was there when I needed her. She actually pays attention to me, actually cares about my needs and my wants. Daddy, please stop yelling at Mommy. Amanda stepped forward, looping her arm through James and smirking at Maggie. You know what, Maggie? Some women just aren't cut out for marriage or motherhood. It's not a failure, Maggie. It's just biology. Get your girlfriend away from me. The burns on Maggie's chest weren't just hot anymore. They were burning, stinging, searing, like they were trying to brand her from the inside out. You know what, James? Maggie's voice was different now, deeper, layered with something that made him take an involuntary step back as she moved forward. You're right. I did leave, but not because I couldn't handle real life. I left because I finally woke up and realized that I deserve better than a piece of shit like you, who thinks marriage is about getting its needs met by whoever it is convenient for. She stepped closer and James' eyes widened slightly. And you know what else? I deserve better than a husband who lies, who cheats, who destroys everything good because he's too selfish to appreciate what he has. And I deserve better than you. The air around them seemed to grow colder. And you want to know more truth, James? She couldn't stop herself. The real truth? Maggie's eyes flashed, light and shadow flickering across her irises. You're a pathetic, small, worthless excuse for a man. And Curly deserves so much more than having you as her father. James' face went red. You can't talk to me like that. I can talk to you however I want. Because you have no power over me anymore, James Drake. Maggie's voice dropped to barely above a whisper. None. And then she thought it. Just one word. One single terrible thought that rose from the darkness, cooling in her chest. Die. The moment the thought formed, the burns on her chest began to pulse once, hot and painful and powerful, and Jason gasped. His nose began to bleed. His hand flew to his chest, his eyes going wide, his face going pale. He stumbled backward, almost falling, and Amanda called him. James? Baby? What's wrong? He couldn't seem to catch his breath. I don't know. My chest. Terror flooded through Maggie. What had she done? What the hell had she just done? Mommy! Curly's small voice cut through the panic. What's wrong with Daddy? He's fine, baby. Maggie forced herself to sound calm, though her hands were shaking. He just needs to settle down for a minute. She grabbed Curly's suitcase and car seat from Jason's trembling hands, blood pouring down the front of his expensive Italian shirt, and quickly loaded it into her Bronco, bunking Curly into the back seat with hands that wouldn't stop trembling. We're gonna go now, okay, sweetie? Daddy needs to rest. But is he okay? Curly's eyes were wide and worried. He'll be fine, Maggie lied. I promise. All she repeated in her head was one word. Bleed. 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 And it did. In great torrents. I'll have her back Sunday morning. Promptly. Y'all take care of yourself now. She closed the back door and turned to find Jason leaning against his BMW, pale as a ghost, gasping, covered in blood on the hood. Their eyes met, and for the first time in Jason James' face, there was fear in it now. Real, raw fear. Like he felt something, sensed something, understood on some primal level that Maggie Drake was no longer the woman he married. She was something else now. Something dangerous. I'll have her back by 6. Not a minute late. Maggie nodded and climbed into her Bronco. As she drove away, she looked in the rearview mirror and saw Jason still leaning against the car, still pouring blood. Amanda fussing over him, blood on her clothes. Both of them staring after her like they'd just seen a ghost. And maybe they had. Maybe the old Maggie, the one who took his abuse, the one who let him walk all over her, who apologized for existing, was officially dead. And something now and new had taken her place. Something that had just tried to unalive a man with a single thought. Mommy? Curly's voice was bright with excitement from the back seat, already bouncing from the scary moment. Tell me about Dune. Is he fluffy? Does he like to play? Maggie forced herself to smile, to focus on her daughter, to push away the horror of what she'd almost done. He's very fluffy, baby. And he loves to play. You're going to be his best friend. I just know it. Curly chattered happily about cats and mountains and her new room, and Maggie drove back toward Cherry Hill with her daughter's voice, filling the car and the darkness in her chest whispering that she liked it. She liked the power of bringing James to his knees. She'd liked seeing James afraid. She liked seeing him scared. She'd liked knowing that she could hurt him. And honestly, that she could unalive him with nothing but a thought. And that realization was more terrifying than anything that Alfred Cholter could do to her. Because the monster wasn't just outside anymore. It was inside her too. And it was hungry. Let's go ahead and take a intermission, 10 minutes, and when we come back, we're going to continue. Y'all are not ready for this. Or maybe you are. I'll be right back. It's a trade. I am going to, I'm about to cast you out into the cold. Hey, love. So quiet. Are you watching a game? I'm gonna work on the cameo. I am, I promise. Hello, Sandra. How are you doing? Tonight is your night, Grims. Your night. Oh, she's in major trouble. I told her I was going to cast her little ass out into the cold. So glad you're enjoying it. I'm not playing either. She's jumping up on everything when I'm trying to tell the lie, and then knocked one of my gowns down on the floor. Oh, no, no, no. So we have a very special night dweller that has been with us for a long time. A long time. And Ray Ray, you know who you are. And Ray is having a rough time. And I want to make sure that we send out healing and healing prayers to Ray. Because when we have one of our night dwellers that is going through a very, very hard time, it just really, their presence is missed. And Ray has been going through it. So just want to send love and light and healing prayers to you right now. Ray, we're cheering for you. Let's do about 3 more minutes. Hey, Ray Bab, how are you? Oh, yes, Kitty being Kitty. She's going to get herself in a lot of trouble. So have your thoughts changed on Graham? Pink says no. You think it's her? You're afraid Graham is a bad guy, Melanie? Please go and follow my Book of Faces. We are monetized on there. I'm so happy that we don't have to go through that whole process with that again. I pulled tooth and toenail and got my account back. And so I am just overly thrilled with it. Hey, Theodosia. You don't want Graham to be bad? I am probably and usually wrong on men. That is so funny. And if you haven't joined Paranormal Files Live, please do. Please, please, please. And tomorrow night we continue with the Bell Witch. Two minutes. Bonnie Lass, still not sure. No, Graham is okay, I think. Hope love. A lot of people don't want Graham to be bad. Just kind of going through and seeing if I missed anyone. Linda, thank you for the request. I will certainly accept it once the live is over. How are you doing, Ray Bab? Shirley, did you have a good birthday? Hey, Rebecca Wolf. I heard you have Quiet the Gathering. Right, Pink? That's right, Bonnie Lass. That is right. Ah, Turtlewood. No, I haven't changed my mind, but I don't want him to be bad. But with Brim writing the story, who knows? That is funny. Oh my goodness. Okay. All right. Who is ready to sink back in? All right. The moment that Maggie pulled into the driveway of Cherry Hill House, Curly pressed her face against the window, her eyes going wide. Mommy! Mommy, it's so big! The white farmhouse stood against the backdrop of the mountains. Even though it was raining and the usual thunder, it was beautiful. The angle with the black pass looming in the distance and the forest pressing in close, it looked like something out of a fairy tale. Beautiful, mysterious, slightly dangerous, even. Come on, baby. Let's get it inside and you can meet Inez and Dune. It's been years since you saw her. Inez was Curly's godmother. James had never liked it. Maggie didn't care. Curly was out of the car seat and running toward the front door before Maggie could even grab her suitcase. Her little light-up sneakers flashed with every step, her red curls bouncing. The door opened and Inez stood there with the biggest smile on her face. Curly, you get on over here and give your great auntie a hug, Inez said, crouching down to the little girl's level. How have you been, Precious? She had always called her Precious from the day that she was born. Look at you. Look how big you've gotten. Where's Dune? And there you go. Maggie laughed. All right, I'm replaced by the cat. I will remember that on your 16th graduation. Or birthday, or whatever it is they do these days. Birthday, 16th birthday. Okay, I'll remember that when you want a car. Curly started looking around. Where's Dune? He is in there, in the parlor, stretched out on the back of the couch, and he is waiting to meet you, little girl. As if on cue, Dune appeared in the doorway, his orange fur catching the light. He took one look at Curly, and his tail went straight up, the cat equivalent of friend detected. Kitty! Curly squealed, and then chaos erupted in the best possible way. Curly chased Dune through the house, laughing as the cat wove between furniture, jumped on chairs, and then turned around to chase her back. They ran through the living room, into the kitchen, around the dining table, and back again, up the stairs, down the stairs. Dune was purring so loud that Maggie could hear him from across the room. He loves her, Inez said, appearing beside Maggie with a knowing smile. Look at him. He's in heaven. Maggie felt tears burning in her eyes as she watched her daughter, her beautiful, innocent, perfect daughter, running through Cherry Hill House with pure joy on her little face. This was what she wanted. It was then and there that Maggie decided they would not move back to Charlotte. When everything was straightened out, when everything was back the way it was supposed to be, she was going to leave that place because that place had nothing but bad memories for her. For this moment, for this happiness, even if everything else was falling apart around her, she at least had this today. After 10 minutes of Chase the cat, Inez clapped her hands together. Curly, you want to see your bedroom? Curly skidded to a stop, her eyes going wide. Yeah, I want to see it. I want to see it. You absolutely do, Maggie said, taking her daughter's hand. I bought a lot of things for this room. Come on, I'll show you. They went upstairs, Dune trotting along behind them, and Maggie let Curly into her room, across the hall from her own. She opened the door and Curly gasped. The room was perfect for a 5-year-old. Stuffed animals everywhere, a wrought iron bed that was white with a purple comforter and pillows, a bookshelf filled with children's books that Maggie had brought, a small desk with crayons and coloring books, curtains printed with flowers in shades of yellow and pink and purple, and a window that looked out over the backyard and the mountains below. It's beautiful! Curly ran into the room and immediately climbed onto the bed, bouncing on it. Mommy, I love it! I love it so much! Can I live here with you instead of with Daddy? I'm so glad you like it, baby. We'll see. Right now, you're with me every other weekend. What does that mean? That means that Never mind. We'll explain that later. Curly bounced over to the window and pressed her nose against the glass. Those mountains are big. They sure are. They're so big and they're pretty. Can we go hiking? Sometimes Daddy and Amanda go hiking. Can we explore it? Maybe, Maggie said carefully. We'll see. Not to the Black Pass, she thought. Never to the Black Pass. Curly spent the rest of the afternoon exploring every inch of Cherry Hill House and the outside. She found Maggie's office and declared it perfect for writing stories just like Mommy. She discovered the apothecary room and asked a million questions about all the jars and herbs. She helped Inez make dinner, macaroni and cheese and hot dogs, Curly's favorite. And through it all, Dune followed her like a devoted shadow, purring and headbutting her legs and letting her pet him until his fur stood up with static. You got a perfect little girl there, Max, Inez whispered to Maggie, while Curly was in the living room teaching Dune how to play hide and seek. Absolutely perfect. And you know what? She's the reason that you're gonna fight. She is, Maggie agreed, her throat tight. And she has no idea what's going on. Does she? You haven't told her anything, what you're preparing for? No. And I want to keep it that way. Inez squeezed her shoulder. We will. We're going to give that girl the best weekend ever, and she's going to go home to Jason or James or whatever the hell his name is on Sunday with happy memories and no nightmares. Maggie nodded, though the word nightmares made her stomach clench, because she had had enough nightmares for all three of them. That night, after Curly had fallen asleep in her new bedroom with Dune curled up at her feet, Maggie lay in her own bed and stared up at the ceiling. The burns on her chest throbbed, a constant painful reminder of what had marked her, what was waiting for her, the bandages pressed against her skin, and beneath them, she could feel itching and burning and stretching, spreading. She could feel the infection, if that's what it was, creeping through her chest. She could hear Curly's soft breathing through the open door across the hall. Could hear Inez moving around downstairs, probably making her normal cup of tea before bed. Everything was perfect. Everything was normal. Except for the darkness that was coiling in Maggie's chest, whispering that this was temporary, that Samhain was coming, that in less than 2 weeks, everything would change. Maggie closed her eyes, exhausted, and tried to sleep. But sleep, when it came, brought no rest. The dream began the way it always did, with mist. Thick, gray mist that smelled of earth and smoke, and something older. Something that had been buried and forgotten, but never truly dead. Maggie walked through it, her bare feet touching the cold stone. She looked down and saw that she was wearing that same black gown, torn and shattered. The burns on her chest were visible now, above the collar of the dress, pulsing with that. Wait. Now the burns were pulsing with a green light. No, she whispered. No, not again. But her feet kept moving, carrying her forward through the mist. Whether she wanted to go or not, the mist began to clear and Maggie saw where she was. The Black Pass. But not the Black Pass as it existed in the waking world. This was something deeper, darker. The space between worlds that Billy had spoken of. The trees here were twisted and wrong, their branches reaching like clawed hands. The ground was covered in moss that glowed faintly with phosphorescence, and in the distance she could hear it. The constant thunder. That wasn't thunder at all. It was a heartbeat. The mountain's heartbeat. No. His heartbeat. Maggie walked forward, unable to stop. The moss cold and damp beneath her bare feet. The mist swirled around her ankles like living things, guiding her, hurting her towards something she couldn't yet see. And then the mist parted completely, and Maggie saw it all. The altar was massive, carved from black stone that seemed to absorb light rather than to reflect it. Ancient symbols covered every surface, pulsing with that same green glow as the burn on her chest. But it wasn't empty this time. Around the altar, around a massive bonfire that burned with green and orange flames, stood the witches. Dozens of them, all wearing black robes, their faces hidden beneath hoods. They swayed in unison, their voices rising and falling in a chant that made Maggie's bones ache. The language was ancient, wrong. It scraped against her ears like nails on a chalkboard, and yet some part of her, the dark part, the part that came from Aileen, understood it. They were calling to him, summoning him, preparing the way for the mating ritual, as Billy had said. No! Maggie choked out, trying to back away, but her feet wouldn't move. The mist had coiled around her ankles like chains, holding her in place. No! I'm not! I don't! The witch's chanting grew louder and more frenzied, and then she saw the children. 7 pillars of stone rose behind the altar, each one carved with the face of a screaming child. Their mouths open in eternal agony, their eyes empty and lifeless. The sacrifices. Mason Stafford's face was on the nearest pillar, frozen in terror. "Oh, God," Maggie whispered. "Oh, God, please." The bonfire roared higher, the green flames reaching toward the dark sky, and from behind the altar, he stepped forward. The Nofrith Chulter. Tall, impossibly tall, at least 7 feet, maybe more, it seemed. He wore robes, dark robes that seemed to be made of shadows themselves, moving and writhing like living things. The hood was pulled up, concealing his face, but even without seeing him, Maggie could feel his presence. Ancient, powerful, hungry. The witches fell silent as he approached the altar, their bodies still swaying slightly, like trees in a wind that only they could feel. And then he extended his hand. His hand. Maggie's breath caught. It was dark, almost luminescent in the firelight, but it wasn't monstrous. It was a strong, masculine hand, long tapered fingers, the hand of a warrior, of a king. Long fingers, elegant but powerful, with veins visible beneath the skin. And then she noticed, on his pinky finger, he wore a signet ring, gold, or what had once been gold. Now it was tarnished, blackened with age, but Maggie could still make out the design carved into it, a symbol that she didn't recognize, something that looked like antlers intertwined with a Celtic knot, and beneath it, letters in a language she couldn't read. She'd never noticed the ring before, had never been close enough to see such details. But now, staring at that hand extended to her, powerful, strong, she couldn't look away from it. "Come to me, Kenna." The voice was deep, rich, resonant, and it carried an accent that made her blood run cold. Scottish, a thick Scottish brogue that wrapped around her word like words of silk and smoke and sin. "I've been waiting for you." A hand beckoned, fingers curling slightly, inviting her forward. "No," Maggie whispered, her whole body shaking. "I'm not. My name isn't." "Come to me, Kenna," he repeated, his voice patient but firm. "Don't deny me anymore, Kenna. Don't deny what you are, what we are." The mist around her ankles tightened, and Maggie felt herself being pulled forward one step, then another, her bare feet dragging across the cold stone, moving her toward the altar, whether she wanted to go or not, toward that extended hand, toward him. "No!" Maggie fought against the pull, her muscles straining, her nails digging into her palms. "I don't want this! I'm not yours!" But the mist was stronger, the pull was irresistible. She moved closer to the altar, closer to the bonfire, closer to that pale hand with its ancient signet ring. The witches began to chant again, their voices rising in a crescendo, and then Nofrith Chulter's hand remained extended, waiting, patient, certain. "You will come to me willingly, lass, or you will come to me bound." His voice rumbled, the Scottish accent making the threat sound almost like a promise. But you will come to me, Kenna. On Samhain, at this altar, and you will take my hand. His fingers flexed slightly, the signet ring catching the green firelight. And when you do, you will understand. You will see what I can offer you, what we can become together. The mist pulled Maggie another step closer. She was almost at the altar now, almost within reach of that hand. Don't deny this, Kenna, he said softly, in a whisper, his voice intimate, despite the dozens of witches watching. Don't deny me. No! Maggie tried to pull away, but the mist held her fast. I'm not Kenna. My name is Maggie. It's Maggie Drake, and I'm not yours. You are Kenna. Then a breath Choltaire said, his Scottish accent making the name sound like a caress and a curse. You are the daughter of Aileen McLeod. You are the union of light and dark. You are the one I have waited centuries for. His clawed hand cupped her face, and Maggie gasped. The touch was hot, so hot that she felt his fingers were leaving an imprint on her cheek. But then, something that felt almost like recognition, like her body knew the touch, had been waiting for it. The mark I placed upon you was only the beginning, lass, he murmured, his thumb brushing across her cheek. On Samhain, when the veil is at its thinnest, you will come to me. And if you don't, I will take something very, very precious of yours. You will stand at this altar, and you will accept what you are, what we are. What we are? Maggie's voice was shaking. Bound, he said simply. You are my consort, my mate, my anchor to this world, and I am your destiny, your purpose, your inevitable end. His other hand moved to her chest, his fingers hovering over the burn mark. I marked you, Kenna McLeod, claimed you, and on Samhain I will complete the ritual. I will take you into the darkness between worlds, and I will make you mine in every way that matters. His voice dropped lower, more intimate, and in the nightmare he caressed her cheek with one finger. And you will not resist me, Kenna, because part of you, the darkness, I can feel growing inside you, wants this, wants me, wants the power that I can give you. The eternity that I can offer you, Kenna McLeod. No, Maggie whispered, tears streaming down her face. I don't want any of this. I just want to be normal. I just want my daughter. I just want... You want to be more than human? Then Frith Choltaire interrupted, his green fire eyes burning into hers. You want to be powerful? You want to never be hurt again, never to be abandoned, never to be weak. His hand pressed against the burn on her chest, and pressed it, and Maggie cried out in pain and pleasure as it shot through her in equal measure. I can give you all that and more. I can make you a goddess, a queen, the most powerful witch to ever walk between worlds. His voice was hypnotic and seductive. All you have to do is stop fighting me. Stop denying what you are. And come to me. Willingly. Maggie's head was spinning. The heat from his touch was spreading through her body, and with it came something, a dark whisper. A temptation, if you will. What if he was right? What if she did want this? What if the power that he was offering her was exactly what she needed? To protect Curly, to never be hurt by James again, to never be weak or vulnerable or afraid. I can feel you considering it. Then a Prince Tear said it in a nightmare, and there was satisfaction in his voice. I can feel the darkness inside you reaching for me, recognizing me, wanting me. His hand moved from her chest to her throat, his slender fingers wrapping around her neck, not choking, just claiming. Samhain is coming, Kenna. And when it does, you will have a choice. You can fight me, and I will take you by force. Or you can accept your destiny, and I will make you my queen. He leaned closer, and Maggie could feel his breath, cold and full of ancient power. Either way, you will be mine. And then he was gone. The mist rushed back in, swallowing the altar, the pillars, the twisted trees. Maggie fell to her knees, gasping, her hands pressing against the cold stone beneath her. And somewhere, from somewhere in the darkness, she heard children crying. Hundreds of them. Thousands. All of the children who had been taken over the centuries, their voices echoing through space between worlds. Kenna, help us. Kenna, save us. Kenna, please. And beneath all of it, that deep Scottish voice, laughing. Maggie woke with a scream lodged in her throat, her hands flying to her chest. The burns were on fire, not metaphorically, actually burning, searing like someone had pressed a red-hot brand against her skin. She could smell it, the sickening scent of burning flesh. She threw back the covers and stumbled to the bathroom, her hands shaking as she turned on the light. In the mirror, her reflection stared back, pale, terrified, sweat-soaked, and her chest. The bandages that she had changed were now black, completely black, like they'd been dipped in ink. With trembling fingers, Maggie peeled them away, and what she saw made her knees buckle. The burn had spread. What had been a circular mark above her heart was now a sprawling brand that covered most of her chest. The gray infection had crept outward like veins, creating a pattern that looked almost like tree roots, like the antlers that she had seen in the dream. And in the center of it all, that one circular mark where her mother's medallion had rested against her skin, but now was replaced, pulsed, once, twice, in perfect rhythm with her heartbeat. No, in perfect rhythm with his heartbeat, the Nafrith Chulter's heartbeat. They were connected now, truly, completely connected. Mommy! Maggie spun around and heard her daughter crying from her bedroom. She ran in and turned on the bedside lamp. Curly was crying. What is it, baby? Are you okay? What's wrong? Can I sleep with you? I had a bad dream. Maggie's heart clenched. Of course, sweetie. Come here. Curly climbed into Maggie's bed. Dune settling at the foot and curled up against his mother's side. Within minutes, her breathing had evened out, and it was deep and peaceful. But Maggie lay there in the darkness, staring at the ceiling, feeling the burns throb in time with a heartbeat that wasn't her own. Samhain is coming, Kenna. Either way, you will be mine. 13 days. She had 13 days to learn how to fight a god. 13 days to figure out how to save the children that were still remaining trapped in the darkness. 13 days before the Nafrith Chultir came to claim her. And as she lay there with her daughter sleeping peacefully beside her, Maggie realized with cold certainty that she had no idea if she was strong enough to stop him. Or now, if even part of her wanted him to. Some time passed. Maggie lay in the darkness, Curly's small body pressed against her side, Dune purring at their feet. She could feel her daughter's heartbeat, steady, innocent, and trusting, and she could feel the burns on her chest pulsing in rhythm with something else entirely. Curly shifted slightly, her little hand resting over Maggie's heart, right over the brand hidden beneath her shirt. Mommy? Curly's voice was small and sleepy. Yes, baby. I had a bad dream. Maggie's entire body went rigid. What kind of dream, sweetie? Curly was quiet for a moment, her fingers playing with the fabric of Maggie's shirt. When she spoke again, her voice was even smaller. Mandy says that I shouldn't tell my dreams, that they won't come true, but I don't want this one to come true. You can tell me anything. What did you dream? There are these bad women. They came to get me. Ice flooded through Maggie's veins. Bad women? Uh-huh. Maggie shifted a little bit. What did these bad women look like, baby? They wore black dresses, long ones, and they were... Curly paused, trying to find the words. They were flying, Mommy. You know, like the acrobats at the circus? They were flying like that. And they came across the yard. Cold chills covered Maggie's entire body. They were laughing. They were coming from the mountains. They wanted to take me away. They're mad at you, Mommy. Maggie's breath caught in her throat. Her arms tightened around her daughter, holding her close, protective and desperate. They can't have you, Maggie whispered fiercely. They can't, baby. I won't let them have you. I know. I feel better telling you. She yawned and already drifted back to sleep, the nightmare already fading in the way children's nightmares do. You're always there to protect me, Mommy. But Maggie lay there in the darkness, wide awake, terror clawing at her chest. The witches were already reaching for Curly. She should have never brought her to Cherry Hill. Already invading her daughter's dreams? Already trying to claim her? Oh God. Oh God, what have I done by bringing her here? Morning came too quickly, and yet not quickly enough. Maggie had barely slept, lying awake and watching Curly breathe, making sure she was safe. Anytime she heard a limb tap against the window, she was up, making sure that nothing came for her child in the middle of the night. When gray dawn light finally filtered through the curtains, Maggie carefully extracted herself from her daughter's embrace and went downstairs. Inez was already in the kitchen making coffee. She took one look at Maggie's face and poured 2 mugs immediately. Well, you look like hell, Inez said quietly. I feel like hell. They sat at the kitchen table in silence for a few minutes, both nursing their coffee, both lost in their own thoughts. From the parlor, they could hear Curly's footsteps on the stairs, her excited chatter to Dune as they started their morning game of chase. Nightmare forgotten. I need to tell you something, Maggie said finally, her voice low. Inez set down her coffee mug. Okay. Yesterday, when I went to pick up Curly, Maggie's hands were shaking. She gripped the mug tighter, trying to steady them. James was being really nasty to me, calling me out right there in front of Curly, telling me I looked like hell, that I was a bad mother, that I'd abandoned them. And then that bitch Amanda, his girlfriend, she was smirking and making comments about how some women just aren't cut out for motherhood. That asshole, Inez muttered. What did you do? Curly asked him why he was being mean to me. Maggie's voice cracked slightly. My 5-year-old daughter had to ask her father why he was being cruel to her mother. Inez reached across the table and squeezed Maggie's hand. And Maggie closed her eyes. I was standing there, and I was looking at him. And as I was overcome with this drowning rage I've never felt before in my life. It was like something inside me just interrupted, and I thought. She opened her eyes and looked directly at Inez. And I thought this one word. Maggie. I thought, die. Nez? One thought, Nez. One single thought. And immediately, I am not lying to you. James grabbed his chest. And he started just bleeding everywhere. His nose, his mouth, it was gushing out like a river on his car, on his clothes. And I just stood there watching him struggle. And this is the bad part. I was smiling. I wanted him to die. Max, I tried to unalive him, Inez. With one thought. I almost unalived the father of my child in a freaking McDonald's parking lot because he said mean things to me. Maggie's eyes were wild now and desperate. What the hell is happening to me? What if it next time is a gas station attendant who doesn't give me the proper change? I'm terrified of what I'm becoming. Oh. Inez moved around the table. You didn't unalive him. He's fine. But I could have. My thoughts could have increased. I could have thought more. I wanted to. And the worst part of it is... Maggie pulled back, tears streaming down her face. The worst part is I liked it. I liked the power. I liked seeing him hurt. I liked him afraid of me. For once, instead of me being afraid of him. From the parlor, they could hear Curly laughing as Dune chased her around the furniture. And last night, Maggie continued, her voice shaking. Curly had a nightmare. She said there were bad women coming to get her. Women dressed in black dresses, flying across the yard from the mountains. They wanted to take her away. Inez's face went pale. The witches. The witches that Billy spoke about. Yes. She gripped Inez's arms. He's calling to me, Nez. And I don't know if I can resist him. I don't know if I'm strong enough. The darkness inside me, it wants what he's offering. It wants the power, and I'm terrified that one day I'm going to just stop fighting and I'm going to give in. Inez held her friend's face in her hands. Listen to me, Maggie Drake. You're scared and you're overwhelmed, and you've been through more in the past 2 weeks than people go through in a lifetime. Hell, the past 2 years. But you're not going to give in. You are not going to let him take you. Do you understand? But no buts. Inez's voice was fierce. Look, I know this is scary. We don't know exactly what we're dealing with here, but I can tell you this. I'm right here with you, and you are not going to give up because you have her. You have a beautiful girl, and you're going to live for her. Billy Grey Eagle is fighting for you. Chloe is fighting for you. I am fighting for you. We're not going to let anything happen to you, Maggie Drake. You can't promise that, Nez. Maggie's voice broke. You can't promise that everything will be okay. You don't know. What if you say something to make me mad? You're right. I can't promise that everything will be okay. Inez's eyes were bright with unshed tears. But I have known you since our college days, and I can promise you that you're not going to face this alone. That we will fight with everything we have. And I'm going to tell Preacher, and I'm going to tell your mom, and I'm going to tell your sister. No matter what happens, you have a circle around you. Maggie nodded, trying to pull herself together. Now, Inez said, her voice gentler, let's try to enjoy the time that Curly is here. You have to take her back tomorrow. Let's give her some good memories, some happy memories. Let's not let this darkness steal these moments from you both. Okay. You keep grabbing your chest, Max. Are those burns not getting any better? The burns on her chest begin to pulse hot, painful and claiming. As Maggie said quietly, "There's something else, something I need to show you." She stood and began unbuttoning her shirt with trembling fingers. Inez watched, concern deepening on her face. Maggie pulled her shirt open, revealing the bandages beneath. They were fresh. She changed them the morning after Curly had gone downstairs, but already dark stains were seeping through. With careful movements, Maggie pulled away the gauze, and Inez froze. Oh my God. The burns had spread even more. What had been a circular mark above Maggie's heart was now a massive brand that covered most of her chest and was creeping upward toward her throat. The gray infection had created a pattern that looked like roots or veins or... What is that? Antlers. Inez breathed. Look at the points. It looks like freaking antlers, Mags. I know. Maggie's voice was hollow. It's spreading every minute. It just gets worse. Every nightmare, every time I feel the darkness pull at me, it grows. Like he's making me from the inside out. The burns pulsed visibly as they watched. Once, twice. Maggie winced. Does it hurt? Inez asked. Constantly. But it's not just pain. It's... Maggie struggled to find the words. It's like he's branded me. It's like I can feel him through it. His presence, his hunger. It's like the mark is a doorway and he's on the other side waiting for me to open it all the way. Inez reached out. Her hand, hovering over the brand but not quite touching. We need to tell Billy about this now, before it gets any worse. I know. Maggie started to rebandage the burns, her movements mechanical. After Curly goes back to James tomorrow night, I'll go to Billy. He says I need to learn to shield myself, to close the connection before she stopped, unable to finish. But both were thinking the same thing before Samyun. Before the Nafrith Chulter came to claim her. Maggie, hold on a minute. Inez said quietly, still staring at the burns. There's something else there. Something on the mark. What do you mean? Look! Inez pointed to the center of the circular brand. There! Do you see it? Maggie looked down at her chest and her blood ran cold. In the very center of the burn, barely visible but definitely there, was a shape. Not just random scarring. Not just damaged tissue. A symbol. Carved or branded or somehow marked into her flesh. It looked like... She had a flashback of the nightmare. Of the Nafrith Chulter's hand. Of his finger. Of the signet. Antlers, intertwined with a Celtic knot. His mark, his seal, his claim of ownership. Oh my God, Maggie whispered, her hand flying to her chest. Oh my God, it's his signet, his seal. He's branded me with it. Inez's face had gone white. Like cattle. Like property. Like his mate. Maggie said, her voice hollow. Like marking me first mate. From the parlor, Curly laughed, bright and innocent, completely unaware of the horror unfolding in the kitchen. Mommy! Inez! Come watch Dune! He's doing tricks! Maggie quickly rebuttoned her shirt, her hand shaking so badly she could barely manage it. Call me baby, she called, her voice falsely cheerful. She looked at Inez, and in her best friend's eyes she saw her own terror reflected back at her. The unfaithful terror wasn't just marking her, he was branding her, claiming her as his property, his consort, his mate. And with every passing day, with every nightmare, with every pulse of that terrible burn, he was getting closer to making that claim permanent. A few minutes later, Inez looked at Maggie. We tell Billy today, as soon as Curly is in bed. The moment she's distracted, you are calling him and you're telling him everything. The spreading birds, the signet, James, Curly's nightmare, all of it. Maggie nodded, trying to push down the panic rising in her chest. Mommy! Curly called again. Please come see! Go, Inez said gently. Go be with your daughter. Smile, play, make memories. I'll watch for any sign of anything. And tonight, after she's asleep, we'll figure out our next move. Maggie walked into the parlor where Curly was making Dune jump through a hoop made of her arms, both of them giggling. Look, Mommy, he's the best kitty ever! He really is, baby. Maggie sat on the floor and pulled Curly into her lap, breathing in the scent of her shampoo, just her smell, feeling the solid warmth of her small body. This was what she was fighting for, not power, not magic, not destiny. Just this, her daughter, safe and happy and innocent. But as Curly snuggled against her chest, right over the brand that bore the Nefertiti's signet, Maggie felt the burn pulse again. Hot, possessive, claiming. And somewhere in that black pass, in the space between worlds, she felt him smile. He knew she'd seen his mark. Knew she understood what it meant. And he was pleased. Because every time she looked at it, every time she felt it pulse, every time it spread further across her skin, she was thinking of him. And that was exactly what he wanted. And that is the reading of Cherry Hill for tonight. Thank you all so much for being here. So glad that you were enjoying it. Remember, tomorrow night we are back. Oh, I'm sorry. Tomorrow night, Paranormal Files Live, we continue the investigation of the Bell Witch. So glad that you all enjoyed it. Thank you, Jackie. Thank you, thank you. Much appreciated. Hey, Wolfman. So glad. So when the Nefertiti pressed into her chest, he pressed his signet. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, one more night. One more night. You know what? You know what? Hold on. I'm going to give you a little bit more. What do you think about that? No, it has not. Later that afternoon, the three of them settled into the living room. Maggie and Inez on the couch, Curly sprawled on the floor with her coloring book and a box of crayons spread around her like a rainbow explosion. Mommy, look! Curly held up her picture, a somewhat abstract interpretation of Dune that was mostly orange scribbles with two green eyes. It's Dune as a superhero. He can fly and catch mice and save people. It's beautiful, baby. Maggie smiled, trying to focus on her daughter's joy instead of the constant throb of the burns beneath her rebandaged chest. Inez, look at mine next. Miss Inez, she corrected. Curly was already flipping to a new page, her tongue poking out in concentration as she selected a purple crayon. The rumble of an engine coming up the hill made Maggie's heart seize. Her first thought, her immediate traitorous thought, was Graham. She couldn't understand it. This pull that she felt toward him, this attraction that seemed to override every logical concern, every warning bell, every instinct that told her to be careful. Even now, after testing him with the name, after lying awake wondering if he was somehow involved in all of this, her body still responded to the thought of him. Still wanted him. It was maddening. Curly jumped up and ran to the window, pressing her nose against the glass. Mommy! It's a police car! Maggie moved to the window and looked out. Sure enough, parked in her driveway was the familiar Sheriff Department Patrol SUV, dark green with the gold star on the side. She remembered him, Sheriff Wyatt. He climbed out of the driver's side, and from the passenger's side came his teenage daughter, Kat. With her long blonde hair and her father's blue eyes, she wore jeans and a hoodie and carried what looked like a bag of cat toys. Kat from the diner. Kat who had told her about Dune, who had suggested that he needed a good home. Maggie remembered them from a week ago when they had taken her on that tour of the Black Veil, shown her the Black Veil Falls, the trespassing signs, and that terrible tree carved with all those missing children's names. And then the doorbell rang. I'll get it, Inez said. No, I'll get it. It's okay. I know who it is. Maggie opened the door to find Wyatt, the sheriff of Cherry Hill, standing on her porch, his Stetson in his hands. He was in full uniform, the dark green shirt with the star badge, his black duty belt, his khakis, his polished black boots. Late 30s, tall and broad-shouldered with black hair and the most striking hazel eyes. Handsome in that clean-cut, all-American way. Behind him, Kat smiled shyly. Hey, Miss Drake, I hope it's okay that we came by. I was missing Dune. I brought some toys for Dune. I've been thinking about him since you brought him up here. I used to feed him at the diner all the time. Of course it's okay. Come in, both of you. Curly immediately attached herself to Kat, dragging her toward the living room where Dune was lounging. Come see, he does tricks now. Well, kind of. Kat laughed and let herself be pulled away. Even though she was a lot older than Curly, they seemed to get along great. The two girls disappearing into the living room with Dune trotting after them. Wyatt stepped inside, and Maggie caught the scent of rain and something clean, like cedar and leather. He looked around the house with an appreciative nod. Beautiful place. Aileen kept it nice, but it looks like you've already made it your own. Thank you. Let me introduce you to my best friend. This is Inez. She's staying with me for a while. Inez appeared from the living room and Maggie made quick introductions. Wyatt was perfectly a gentleman, shaking Inez's hand, calling her ma'am, and making pleasant small talk about the house and the weather. But then his expression grew more serious, and he looked at Maggie directly. Maggie, I was wondering if we could talk privately for a few minutes, if that's all right. Maggie glanced at Inez, who gave a subtle nod. Yeah, of course. Um, we can go to the kitchen. I got it, Inez said, gesturing toward the living room where they could hear Curly's delighted giggle as Kat pulled toy after toy from the bag. I'm watching everything here. Y'all are good. Maggie led Wyatt down the hallway to the kitchen, acutely aware of his presence behind her. Tall, solid, radiating that particular kind of authority that came with wearing a badge. Would you like some coffee, tea, water, soda maybe? Maggie asked, defaulting to hostess mode. Coffee would be great, actually. Thank you. Maggie moved to the coffee maker, grateful for something to do with her hands. She liked Wyatt. He'd been kind when he and Kat had shown her around a week previous. Patient, understanding, more than willing to answer a question about Cherry Hill, but not so much about the Black Pass. Answers that had been wrapped in warnings. It was the first time that she saw the signs on the trail. The first time that she saw the tree. She poured 2 cups and turned to find Wyatt watching her with an expression she couldn't quite read. He cleared his throat. I want to apologize. Maggie set the mugs on the table. For what? I'm just doing my job, Maggie. And I wish I could tell you that this is a social call, but not completely. Word gets around this town pretty quick, Maggie. His voice was careful and measured. I understand that, you went to the Black Veil alone. Maggie's hand froze halfway to her cream and sugar. And just looking at you right now, I can tell something's wrong. His blue eyes were concerned, almost gentle. You look tired, stressed, like you're carrying something heavy. I'm just tired, Sheriff, Maggie said, voicing her voice to stay steady. Having Curly here, trying to get used to this house, settling in, just a lot of different things. Wyatt's tone shifted slightly, not threatening but firmer, more official. I also understand that you went out to Mary's place, asking her about her daughter. Maggie's blood ran cold. Yes? Her husband came to the station and reported you. She set the cream and sugar in front of him, her movements careful and controlled. Cream? Sugar? Both, please. She sat down across from him, watching as he doctored his coffee with deliberate movements. When he looked up at her again, his expression was serious. Maggie, you're being talked about. Word gets around that you're snooping. I'm not snooping, Maggie said, her voice sharper than she intended. She forced herself to take a breath, to stay calm, to not tell him too much. Because she remembered his warnings at the Black Veil clear as day. Leave it alone, Maggie. Don't mess with things that you don't understand. I'm not snooping, Sheriff, she repeated more evenly this time. But I have found out things that are very chilling and very wrong here in Cherry Hill. Sheriff, please call me Wyatt. Maggie sat down at the table, her coffee untouched. Wyatt, then. He leaned forward slightly, his voice dropping to something more intimate. Look, I told you what I had to say. I told him I would talk about you. I'm really thinking about you, Maggie. I'm about your best interest. I just want to make sure that you're okay and that you're safe. I don't want some crazy person coming up here in the middle of the night trying to do things that aren't good. I'm fine. You know, Maggie, you don't have to be so defensive. His eyes searched hers. I'm actually on your side. I appreciate that, Sheriff. Wyatt, he corrected gently. I insist that you call me Wyatt. They sat in silence for a moment, and Maggie could feel the weight of his attention on her. It wasn't uncomfortable, exactly. It was just intense. And while we're on the subject, in a more social capacity, Wyatt said, his voice taking on a different quality, something warmer, more personal. I really enjoyed taking you around the other day, showing you the falls, getting to know you a little. Maggie's heart sank. She knew where this was going. I was thinking I'd like to do it again, he continued. Maybe without Kat this time, just the two of us. He looked at her and the meaning was crystal clear. She could see it in his eyes, the way they softened when they looked at her, the way his attention focused entirely on his face. He wanted her. Maggie didn't know what to say. She didn't have the heart to tell him about Graham, that she'd been sleeping with a mysterious Scottish attorney who might or might not be involved in the darkness trying to consume her. But it was none of Wyatt's business anyway. But he seemed so kind, so genuine, so safe. Safer than Graham, certainly. Safer than anything else in this town, and yet she said nothing. Just sat there, frozen, unsure how to respond. At that moment, Wyatt reached across the table and placed his hand over hers. His hand was warm, big, solid, real. The hand of a man who protected people for a living, a man who wore a badge and made promises to keep his citizens safe. He's probably a lot safer than Graham, Maggie thought desperately. Graham, who might be involved in all of this, who tensed when I said the name, who I can't trust but can't seem to stay away from. She was so confused. She didn't know what to do. Wyatt's thumb brushed across her knuckles, a gentle, questioning touch. Maggie, I haven't been with anyone since my wife. Have dinner with me, he said quietly. Tonight. You got someone to watch Curly? Inez seems great. Kat would love to keep Curly company. We could go out, just the two of us. Get a burger, talk, get to know each other without all the small town weirdness getting in the way. Heck, I'll drive you to the other town. Maggie looked at him, really looked at him in his honest hazel eyes, his strong jaw, his genuinely kind expression, and she shook her head. I'm sorry. I can't. Wyatt's face fell. It's not you. I'm trying to spend as much time with Curly as I possibly can. She has to go back tomorrow morning. Maybe another time. Something flickered across Wyatt's face. Disappointment? Maybe a flash of frustration? Sure. Yeah. Of course. He pulled his hand back and stood abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. I understand. His footsteps were brisk as he moved toward the hallway, and Maggie hurried after him, sensing its mood shift. They were halfway down the hall, almost back to where everyone else was when Wyatt stopped suddenly. So suddenly that Maggie almost ran into him. He turned, and somehow she wasn't sure how, he was right there, mere inches away. His body angled toward hers in a way that pressed her back against the wall without actually touching her. Maggie, I know you're hurt, Wyatt said, his voice low and intense. I know you've had a lot of pain, like I have. Your divorce, leaving Charlotte, starting all over, all of it. Maggie's breath caught. They were so close. Too close. And I want you to know, he reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away if she wanted, that you don't have to carry it all alone. His finger touched her cheek, running down her cheekbone. Just one finger, running down the curve of her cheekbone in a gentle, intimate gesture. And Maggie's world exploded. The touch. That touch. She was back in the dream, the dark room, the hands on her body, the voice whispering in her ear, deep, Scottish, commanding, "Come to me, Kenna. Don't deny me." The pleasure that it felt so wrong and so right at the same time, the cold fingers on her skin, the sensation of being claimed, possessed, wanted. The voice wasn't Wyatt's, but the touch, that sliding, claiming touch on her cheek, every nightmare was the same. Exactly the same. Maggie's eyes went wide, her entire body going rigid. Her voice came out strangled. We better get back in there. Wyatt's hand dropped immediately, concern flooding his face. Yeah, of course. Let's get back. He stepped back, giving her space, and something like sadness crossed his features. I'm sorry if I made you uncomfortable, Maggie, he said quietly. That wasn't my intention. It's fine, Maggie managed, though her heart was racing, her mind spinning. Was it him? Was that touch in the darkness his? Or was she just seeing connections that weren't there because she was terrified and paranoid and losing her mind? They walked back to the living room in silence. Curly and Kat were on the floor with Doom, building what looked like an obstacle course out of couch cushions. Inez was watching them with a smile, but her smile sharpened when she saw Maggie's face. Kat, we should probably head on out, Wyatt said, his voice back to that professional, friendly tone. Let you folks enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Already, Dad? Kat looked disappointed. But we just got here. It's getting late, kiddo, and I'm sure Miss Drake wants to spend time with her daughter. Kat said goodbye to Curly, the two girls exchanging promises to meet again, and collected her bag of remaining cat toys and handed it to Curly. Here, you take them and play with them. At the door, Wyatt turned back to Maggie one more time. You call me if you need anything, he said, his voice serious. Anything at all, day or night. That's what I'm here for. To keep people safe. Thank you. Wyatt held her gaze for a long moment, and Maggie saw genuine concern in his eyes. And something else. Something deeper, more complicated. Then he tipped his Stetson and walked back to the SUV with Kat. Maggie closed the door and leaned against it, her hand going to her cheek where he touched her. Inez was there instantly. What the hell just happened in there? You look like you've seen a ghost. Maggie leaned against the door. He touched my face. Maggie whispered, just ran his finger down my cheek, and I had a flashback to the dreams, the erotic ones, the dark room, the hands, the voice. This is the sheriff that you told me about back a couple weeks ago, right? About a week ago, yeah. You think it's him? In your dreams? I don't know. Maggie's voice was shaking. The voice wasn't his, but the touch, that exact touch, it felt the same. I don't know if it's real or if I'm just so paranoid now that I'm making connections that don't exist. Inez pulled her into a hug. What did he want? Why did he come here? He came to warn me. To warn me about snooping. About asking questions, about going to the Black Veil alone. Maggie pulled back. And to ask me out to dinner. What? Did you say yes? No, but Nez... Maggie looked at her best friend with desperate eyes. I don't know who to trust anymore. Graham makes me feel things I can't control. Wyatt seems safe, but that touch... She shuddered. And everyone in this town is watching me and talking about me and waiting for something. Mommy! Curly called from the living room. Can we make chocolate chip cookies? In a minute, baby. She looked down. I don't know if he was being genuine or if he was trying to help. And then she thought, or is he another player in whatever game that the Nebrithil was playing? Another person watching, waiting, guiding her towards Samhain. Maggie didn't know, and that terrified her more than anything else. Because if she couldn't trust the sheriff, the one person in town whose job it was to protect people, then who could she trust? We'll finish it up for tonight. After Curly was tucked into bed, her little body curled around Dune, her breathing soft and even, Maggie and Inez sat at the kitchen table with cups of tea. Neither of them were drinking. All right, her bags are all packed, Inez said quietly, ready for tomorrow morning. I know. Maggie's voice was hollow. I have to have her back to him by 10. She gestured vaguely at the house, the mountains beyond the windows. Beyond the windows, the darkness pressing in from all sides. They talked for hours about Wyatt, about that touch on her cheek, about whether it was the same as the dreams or if Maggie was just truly losing her mind and every man that she came in contact with. It was driving her insane, seeing connections that didn't exist because she was terrified and desperate and marked by something ancient and hungry. About Graham and whether she could trust him and about whether her body's response to him was real attraction or some kind of supernatural manipulation. After the burns, about the burn spreading across her chest, about the signet seal branded into her flesh, about the way it pulsed in rhythm with a heartbeat that wasn't hers, about Curly's nightmare, the women in black flying across the yard from the mountains, about everything. And now they were exhausted and empty with no answers and too many questions. You should try to sleep, Inez said gently. You have to drive tomorrow. You need your rest. I'm afraid to sleep, Maggie's admitted. Every time I close my eyes, he's there, waiting for me, calling to me, and every nightmare makes the burns worse, makes the connection stronger. I'll be right across the hall. And as promised, if you have another nightmare, I'll wake you. I won't let you stay in there with him. Maggie nodded and stood, her movements mechanical with exhaustion. They said goodnight and Maggie climbed the stairs to her bedroom. She checked on Curly one more time. Her daughter sleeping peacefully, Dune's orange tail draped across her arm, and then went to her own room. She changed into sleep clothes, washed her face, rebandaged the burns that had spread even further since the morning. The gray veins now reached almost to her collarbone, the patterns of antlers, her roots becoming clearer with each passing day. It really was quite beautiful and quite terrifying. The signet seal in the center pulsed once as she stared at it in the mirror. 13 days, she thought. 12 now, 12 days until Samhain. She climbed in bed and stared at the ceiling, trying to stay awake. But exhaustion won, and the moment her eyes closed, she felt herself falling. The dream began in darkness, complete, absolute darkness that pressed against her skin like velvet. Maggie stood in what felt like a room. She could sense walls around her, a floor beneath her bare feet, but she couldn't see anything. The darkness was so thick, it felt solid. Hello? Her voice came out uncertain. No response. But she felt it. A presence. Someone else in the room with her, standing in the darkness. She could hear his breathing. Watching her. Waiting. Her heart began to rise. And then, a touch. Hands on her waist. Warm hands. Hot. Even. The heat radiating through the thin fabric of whatever she was wearing, sinking into her skin. Not cold like she'd expected. Hot, like standing too close to a fire. Maggie gasped, trying to step back, but the hands tightened around her waist, not painfully, just firmly, holding her in place. The whisper came from right in front of her, deep, Scottish, wrapping around her name like a caress. But the hands were moving, sliding up her sides, over her ribs, burning hot everywhere they touched. Not painful, not exactly, but intense, overwhelming. He whispered again, closer now, his breath warm against her ear. She could feel him in front of her, tall, so tall she had to tilt her head back to where his face would be, his body radiating heat, the presence of him filling the space, making it hard to breathe. And then his lips were on her neck, hot, soft, moving along the curve where her shoulder met her throat. Maggie's knees went weak. It should have been terrifying. It was terrifying. But God, it felt good. His hand slid around to her back, pulling her closer, and she could feel him now. The solid strength of his body, the heat of him, the way he moved against her with clear intent. He was not a monster. He was a man. Whatever else he was, ancient, powerful, monstrous, in this moment, he felt like a man. A very virile man. His lips moved up to her jaw, her cheek, barely there, touches that left trails of fire across her skin. And then she felt it. The finger down her cheekbone. You feel it, don't you? His voice was a low rumble. The pull, the hunger. Your body knows what it wants, Kenna, even if your mind fights me. Please, Maggie whispered, though she wasn't sure what she was asking for. For him to stop. For him to never stop. Lightning flashed, just for a second, brilliant white light that illuminated everything. Maggie saw the room, stone walls, ancient and worn, a window high up where the lightning had come from. And him, tall, wearing a black robe that hung open, revealing his body. Everything but his face. A man's body. Defined muscles. Skin that seemed to glow faintly in the lightning splash. But his face, still hidden. The hood of his robe pulled up, casting shadows that the lightning couldn't penetrate. All she could see was the line of his jaw. Strong, masculine, and his hands on her body, one at her waist, one cupping her face, and on his left hand, on his pinky finger, a ring, tarnished gold, signet, carved with a design she couldn't quite make out in the brief flash, but somehow knew, antlers intertwined with Celtic knots. The same design branded into her chest. The darkness returned, swallowing the image. But Maggie's mind was racing. I saw that, Pink. The signet ring. She'd seen it now, actually seen it. She hadn't noticed a ring on Wyatt. Hadn't seen one on Graham. Hadn't seen it on anyone. only here, only on him. And it matched the mark he burned into her flesh, his seal, his claim of ownership. You've seen it now, he murmured against her ear as if he knew exactly what she was thinking. My mark on your chest. We are bound, Kenna. On my hand, connected. His hands moved again, removing whatever it is that she was wearing and letting it slip to the floor. One sliding down her spine, the other threading through her hair. And soon, that connection will be complete. Lightning flashed again. This time she saw more of him. The black robe, the way it moved like living shadow, slipping from his shoulders and falling to the floor, casting his face in darkness. But still, his face remained hidden, just a hint of a jaw. The curve of his lips as they pulled into a slight smile. You want to see me, Kenna? He said. No question. A statement. You want to know what I look like beneath the hood? What face wears this mark you carry? His hand moved from her hair to her chest, his palm pressing against the burn through, the heat of his touch making her gasp. But not yet, he whispered. Not until Samyun, not until you come to me at the altar. Then and only then, lass, will you see all of me. The darkness pressed in closer. His lips claimed hers, hot, demanding, claiming her mouth with a hunger that made her head spin. And Maggie, God help her, kissed him back. Just for a second, just one traitorous second where the darkness inside her reached for him and wanted more. Kenna, he breathed against her lips. Lightning flashed one more time and Maggie saw his hand again. The signet ring catching the light. The proof that he was real. That somewhere in the space between worlds, he was waiting for her, and he was exactly what he claimed to be. Powerful, ancient, virile, and determined to make her his. Maggie woke with a gasp, her hands flying to her chest. The burns were hot, not burning like before, but warm, pulsing, like they were responding to something, to him. She threw back the covers and stumbled to the bathroom, turning on the light with shaking hands. In the mirror, her reflection stared back, flushed. Y'all are so funny. Breathing hard, her eyes wide and dark. She pulled up her shirt and peeled away the bandages. The burns had spread again. The gray veins now reached past her collarbone, creeping toward and upward her throat. But it was the signet seal in the center that made her breath catch. It was warm to the touch, actually warm, like the heat from his hands had somehow transferred through the dream into reality. And in the center of the circular brand, the design was clearer now than it had ever been. Antlers entwined with Celtic knots, the same exact design she'd seen on the ring, his ring, the Nofrith Chulter signet. Proof that he was real, that he was claiming her, that every nightmare brought her closer to belonging to him completely. Maggie touched the mark with trembling fingers, and it pulsed once under her hand, hot and alive. connected to him across the veil. A soft knock on the bathroom door made her jump. Maggie? Inez's voice was worried. Are you okay? I heard you get up. Maggie quickly pulled her shirt down and opened the door. Inez took one look at her face, at her flushed cheeks, her dilated pupils, the way her hands were shaking and understanding dawned. Another nightmare. Yes. Was it? Inez hesitated. Was it like the others? Maggie nodded, unable to speak past the lump in her throat. Because it had been like the others, the seductive darkness, the pleasure mixed with terror, the way her body responded even as her mind screamed at her to fight. But this time it had been different. This time she'd seen the ring, and she realized that the marker on her chest wasn't just random, wasn't just a burn. It was his signet, his seal, his brand of ownership. And he wore the matching ring. Somewhere in the darkness between worlds, the Nefrith Chulter wore that ring on his left pinky finger, and when he touched her, when he claimed her, she would see it, would know beyond any doubt that he was the one who had marked her. Maggie, Inez's voice pulled her back to the present. Talk to me. What did you see? A ring, Maggie whispered. On his left hand, his pinky finger, a signet ring with the same design that's burned into my chest. Inez's face went pale. You're sure? I saw it. Through the lightning flashes, clear as day, Maggie's voice shook. Inez, I haven't seen a ring like that on anyone. Not the sheriff, not Graham, not anyone in town. He was a man, Inez. I saw his body, I didn't see his face. His hands were hot, his lips were hot. He feels like a man, a real man, and that makes it so much worse. Why? Because part of me wanted him. Maggie admitted, tears streaming down her face. The darkness inside me, it responds to him. It wants what he's offering, power, pleasure, belonging, and I don't know if I'm strong enough to fight that for 12 more days. Inez pulled her into a tight hug. It's gonna be okay. But as Maggie clung to her best friend with a hug, she could feel the burn on her chest pulsing, warm, alive, connected to the man, the entity, the ancient power that wore the matching ring. And she knew with cold certainty that every night would bring another dream, another nightmare, another claiming, another step closer to Saint-Maine, another moment where she'd have to choose between fighting and surrendering, between the light and the darkness, between being Maggie Drake or becoming Kenna McLeod. His Kenna. His mate. His queen of the shadows and the light. And God help her. She didn't know which of herself that she would choose when the time came. All right, that is it. That is it for tonight. That is it. That is it. Oh my gosh, y'all made me crack up so badly. So now, what do you think? What do you think? Scarlet Peace says more. 3 suspects. Yep. I have to write more. But I will say that just wait. Oh my gosh, just wait. Oh, you're talking about Angus. Yeah, so Angus was at the beginning of the book. Um, let me. I'm kind of like in holiday mode now, anyway, so I'm gonna show you. I'm going to show you what I concocted in my mind of Mr. Wyatt, the sheriff of Cherry Hill. And Wyatt Pierce. There he is. Very. I know. Can you imagine him under that robe? I was like, yes, that is Sheriff Wyatt Pierce right there. I know, right? Hey, Marianne. Oh, definitely. Just making you imagine. So, do y'all remember him when um when he took Maggie to the Black Veil, him and his daughter Kat? They do seem softer, honestly. You're right. Okay, so that is Wyatt, and then Bernie, who might be new in here, because you actually won't get any more Cherry Hill till next Tuesday. Let's see. Let's see if I can find it. I know he's here. Where in the world? Well, here we go. And that's Graham. So, total opposites. They really are. So, some want Gray. Okay, so some are Team Graham and some are Team Wyatt. Can you have both? Absolutely. The sheriff. I don't know. It's just something about Graham. I can hear his voice. I can see him so clearly. Okay, hold on. Let me do this. 1 second. All right, so let me save so we can kind of do like a side by side. Hold on. Okay, so Wyatt. And Graham. Wyatt. You want what? So I've got my Grahams and I've got my Wyatt. So Team Graham, Team Wyatt. And then Rhonda's like, what the heck? I'm mixing them up. Rose is Team Wyatt, but you would take Graham in a pinch. You need to see the show. So I think I know who Pink's favorite is. Team both. She's single. Hey, anything is possible. Oh, I know. Your team Sheriff Pink? Yeah, he's a fine looking man. All right, ladies. It is let's see. It's 11:37. You feel like committing a crime. Shirley, you're Graham. Oh, I got you, Pink. All right, tomorrow night, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern, back on the Paranormal Files Live. We're going to go and dive back into the Bell Haunting. I love you all. Oh, wow. What in the world? Y'all are the best. All right, loves. I'm going to bow out. Love you all. Night, night. Night, Rose.